Hi, welcome to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun. It's a wonderful morning, and you're listening to the daily Hindu news analysis for current affairs news leads with Arjun R Shankar. And today's date is 21st December 2022. And let's check out the important news leads. And before that, do check out our editorial summaries for IAS, where we decode important editorials from UPSC Perspective. Moving on to the first important news is new scanners to speed up security check at airport. GS paper 3 security and aviation. You need to know that it says that it is the long time because people say that it's a long queue of air travelers removing their laptops, mobile phones and chargers from their cabin baggage before screening. It could soon become history. Everything can go out, as the aviation security regulator called the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, the BCAS. So that brings us, what is the BCAS, or Bureau of Civil Aviation Security? Because that is going to be the long queues of air travelers are going to be a history, because they are going to make a huge change, where you can see that which the airports to adopt modern equipments to screen bags without removing electronic devices. So the aviation security regulator has said that we will have more technical norms within a month, which will pave the way for airports to adopt modern equipment to screen bags without even removing electronic devices. So that is something very advantageous that you can see here. And the new technologies will have around say a dual x-ray computer tomography, the ct and the neutron beam technology. So what is the neutron beam technology? The tomography, x-ray, and this will eliminate the need for passengers to remove laptops and other electronic devices. So that is a very good thing for BCAs, because the call comes at a time when airports across the country are seeing a record number of air travelers that are already exceeded pre-COVID levels actually. And you should also see that those long queues have made huge confusion in the Delhi airport recently. And you should know what you mean by the BCAS, because knowing about the BCAS is also very, very important. And the BCAS is Bureau of Civil Aviation is actually set up by the DGCA as a cell in 1978 on the recommendations of the Pandey Committee, and later on it became an independent department of the Ministry of Civil Aviation in 1987. And one of the main responsibilities of BCAS is to lay down the standards, the security of civil flights at international and domestic airports in India. Headquartered at New Delhi, it has different annexes in Kolkata, Mumbai, and Chennai, and it lays down the standards for the Chicago Convention of ICAO for airport operators, airline operators, etc. It monitors the securities, ensures the security controls, plans aviation security matters, even conduct emergency security dummy checks and mock exercises to test the operational preparedness of various airport agencies. So BCAS, to start with today's news, read it from this perspective. Moving on to the next is Delhi Lieutenant Governor orders recovery of 97 crores from AAP for political advertisements. GS paper to Polity. So this brings us a new question regarding what is CCRGA. You can just take a look at what do you mean by the CCRGA. Before that, you need to know the Delhi Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena has directed Chief Secretary Naresh Kumar to recover around 97.14 crores with interest from the Aam Aadmi Party for a number of political advertisements published or telecast as government advertisement between 2015 and 16. So this brings us CCRJ. What do you mean by the CCRJ? Because the Lieutenant Governor is actually asked to implement the order of Committee on Content Regulation in Government Advertisement. So please do remember the Committee on Content Regulation in Government Advertisement. It's a 3-member body formed by the Union Ministry of Information and Broadcasting on the direction of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court said, and a 3-member body was formed by the Union Ministry of Information and Broadcasting on the direction of the Supreme Court, and it is the Committee on Content Regulation in Government Advertisement. So know this in detail. And the September 2016 CCRGA report found that Delhi government advertisement has violated the top court's guideline and asked the Director of Public Information and Publicity to recover the amount spent on those advertisements by the Aam Aadmi Party. And even the Aam Aadmi Party has said that the Lieutenant Governor has no power to speak on this matter, and he has no legal directives and legal stand to issue such directives. And they have even criticized him as passing an illegal order. So this brings us the power of what is Lieutenant Governor in India, and what is the powers of Lieutenant Governor in Delhi, with very specific in Delhi. And you can see what do you mean by the CCRGA, because it was actually set up in 2013 May 2015. The government of India, in April 2016, the Honorable Supreme Court gave a direction, and Government of India in 2016 set up a three-member body consisting of persons with unimpeachable neutrality. The word is persons with unimpeachable neutrality and impartiality who have excelled in their respective field. They are supposed to look into the content regulation of government funded advertisement of all media platforms. So government funded advertisement of all media platforms is being looked, and the Honorable Supreme Court observed that the advertisement material should be presented in an objective, fair, and accessible manner to meet the objective of the campaign. Advertisement material should be objective and not directed at promoting political interest of the ruling party. So the campaign should be justified and undertaken in an efficient, cost-efficient manner, and must comply with the legal requirements. So that is the reason why CCRJ say that they have violated. Delhi government has violated, and it needs to give 100 crores, almost 100 crores, with interest. So know about the CCRGA, Committee on the Content Regulation Government Advertisement. Next is moving on, GS paper 2, international relations. If not reformed, UN will be overtaken by other organizations, says Ruchira Kamboj, the permanent representative of India at the UN. So GS paper 2, international relations, I'll give you a mains question. The reformation of the United Nations in the present emerging situations of the world is inevitable and a most complex process of UN system. So the reformation of UN is actually an inevitable and a most complex process. Analyze the statements in the light of recent incidents. So this brings us that recently the reformation is the most complex, and you should know that the issue of multilateralism and counterterrorism during December presidency of India is being discussed. India is being holding the chair of UNSC during the December rotation, and it talks about reformed multilateralism, and the reformation of United Nations is a very complex thing, and it needs to happen. And India says that it requires all the support of the P5, the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. And we have already discussed what you mean by the P5 plus 1. It requires that no P5 country should veto the matter, and all of that, much more. So whenever you know that, whenever, for example, India actually launched a particular thing in 1996 regarding the counter-terrorism thing, but the Security Council has not given an interest. So you should know that whenever it comes to counter-terrorism or anything regarding a reformation, you should know that the P5 members should not veto this. So they should be more proactive, and they should not veto it. And all the P5 members to be on board regarding reformation process. And there is a lot of pessimism about the possibility of reform of UN Security Council. And you know, it has been pending nearly for 3 decades without any substantive progress. And if you need to create a reformation, the P5 countries should actually support a lot. And the Ruchira Kamboj also said that organizations like G20 may step up to take more prominent role in international affairs than the United Nations. So if the UN is not ready to go for a reformation, what will happen is eventually groupings like G20 will become more prominent and will decide the entire directions of the world. So this perspective. And next is no survey done to identify the number of EWS recipient government GS paper 2 welfare. You need to know that the union government has not conducted any survey, nor is it considering a proposal to conduct one to identify the number of beneficiaries entitled under the EWS category. So that is economically weaker sections, because previously you know that the government Supreme Court bench hearing the challenge of the income criterion of EWS reservation questioned the union government of the data that it has, which it arrived at the uh, actually it needs 8 lakh criterion for family income, where it said that it needs 8 lakh. So less than, consider that it is an 8 lakh criterion, 8 lakh rupee criterion for annual family income. So the Supreme Court asked this: how did you come with an assumption that 8 lakh is the criteria or the amount that you are deciding? Because there is no such survey conducted. So how are you going to? The union government orally told the Constitution bench that it was relying on the data compiled by the Niti Ayogs, the multi-dimensional poverty index. So that brings us the MDPI. What is multi-dimensional poverty index? To estimate that 18.2% of the general category population would fall under EWS category, which would be around 3.5 crores. So apart from this Niti Ayog's multidimensional poverty index, it does not have any data, and Supreme Court has actually questioned it. Why should you need this? How can you come arrive at the data that 8 lakh rupees is actually the family income? So there need to be a good survey and a proposal to conduct regarding to enumerate the economically weaker section or the EWS reservation. To know this from GS paper to welfare. Unknown threats elements had tampered with IT servers in AIMS. So everybody knows that GS paper 3 technology, that the servers of AIMS, the premium health institutions and health institution in India, was compromised by a group of hackers. And that brings us, what is CERT in? The article talks about what is CERT in a computer emergency response team, and what is a National Informatics Center, the NIC, what is a ransomware which was affected, and what is Citizens Financial Cyber Fraud Reporting and Management System. The Citizen Financial Cyber Fraud Reporting and Management System, or the how is this very importantly happening? So you need to know this is Citizens Financial Cyber Fraud Reporting and Management System. So you need to know that the cyber attack in the AIMS took place as an unknown threat element tampered with the IT servers. So the computer response emergency team. So CERT is the basic India's nodal agency whenever there is a cyber security crisis happening. So CERT is the nodal agency of the government to deal with the cyber security issues. And what is NIC? The National Informatics Center was established in 1976 and has emerged as the prime builder of e-government or e-governance application to the grassroots level. So NIC is basically an prime builder of e-government and e-governance application of the grassroots level through NIC, through the ICT network. See, the Information Communication Technology Network, NIC, through its ICT network has created a thing called NICNet, 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 which has institutional linkages with all the ministries, departments of the central government, state governments, union territory, and more than around 600 plus district administrations of India. So NICNet, the NICNet has a connection between central government, state, union territories, district administration. So it is NIC, the National Informatics Center is very pivotal in steering e-governance and e-governance application in government ministries, etc. So the NIC is also very important for GS paper 2 polity regarding e-governance or governance, and also GS paper 2 public administration. Also, if you are a public administration optional, NIC is very important. And ransomware is something that we discussed. And what do you mean by Citizen Financial Cyber Fraud Reporting and Management System? This is actually the Ministry of Home has operationalized a national helpline with the number 1930 or 1930 for cyber frauds. So the facility empowers both the banks and the police by leveraging new age technologies for sharing online fraud related information. So victims of cyber fraud can actually call the helpline number 1930 1930, which is manned and operated by the concerned state police. So please do know about more about this. So know about this from GS paper 3 technology and GS paper 2 perspective. Yeah. And NIC. And what is Rule 267, a bone of contention in Rajya Sabha? Because now recently everybody is talking about the rule number 267 GS paper 2 polity. You should know that the Rule 267 of the Rajya Sabha rule book allows for the suspension of the day's business to a debate an issue suggested by a member has become. So that is very important. That means Rule 67 allows for the suspension of the day's business. Imagine that the day is having a business, a topic discussion. It allows for the suspension of the day's business for what? To having a debate for an issue suggested by a member. If there is a so this is very important, and you can take a look at this. Not a single notice under the rule moved by the opposition has been accepted in the winter session. So everybody is suggesting this 267. So 6 such notices were declined by the chairman Jagdeep Dhankar, prompting the Trinamool Congress MP Derek O'Brien. There were 11 instances between 1990 and 2016 when this rule was invoked for various discussions. So you need to know that 267 gives the special power to Rajya Sabha member. So 267 is giving a Rajya Sabha member to suspend the pre-decided agenda of the House with the approval of the chairman. Say there is an already approved agenda, and if you want to bring in something very important and very pivotal on the agenda with this support of the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, a member can actually say that yes, I want to have a discussion and please do allow. If the chairman actually allows it, then that is a great thing. There were 11 instances, 1919 2016, since various role was invoked, and recently the Trinamool Congress MP, the Trinamool Congress Derek O'Brien has said that all the notices were not accepted by the Rajya Sabha chairman. So that is what we mean by 267, where an urgent matter has been discussed. So please know about that. So moving on to GS, next is panel flags victimization of SC/ST employees of PSUs, GS paper 2 welfare. So there has been an increasing number of incidents of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe employees of public sector undertaking being victimized in the name of verification of caste certificates. So that has come out. It has actually victimized a lot of SC/ST employees in the public sector, and employees were facing undue delays in the same. The process of caste certificate verification is a big problem, and it's also very important to curb the menace of false certificates. False certificates is also very important. So the point is the pension benefits and supporting benefits and emoluments under the SCS for the SCST employees should not become the subject matter of harassment or victimization in the name of caste certificates. So immediately the caste certificate delays should be avoided, and simply delaying it in the name and victimizing is not a good thing. GS paper 2 welfare. Next is regarding a very interesting news regarding such questions can be appearing, but you don't know what UPSC can ask. Uh, the Setricham Sangtam gets prize for rural development. Setricham Sangtam gets prize for rural development, and that he is getting the first Rohini Nayar prize. So you need to know what you mean by Rohini Nayar prize. Rohini Nayar, it was an eminent scholar administrator who spent much of her professional life working in the issues of rural India. And the article talks about what is slash and burn agriculture. So the Setricham Sanktam has helped uh, triple the incomes of around close to 1,200 marginalized farmers in eastern Nagaland. So he has helped a lot of farmers to triple the income of farmers in Nagaland, and that is why he has given the Rohini Nayar award. So Rohini Nayar was an eminent scholar who dedicated a life for rural India. So know it from GS paper 2 welfare and rural development. And GS paper 1, you should know what is slash and burn agriculture. And MPs across this aisle break bread at the feast of millets. GS paper 3 crops. So this brings us what are millets? Because Prime Minister Modi has said the virtue of millets and even the sports is improving the citizens' health, and that is why he stressed about Khelo India. So what is Khelo India? Khelo India campaign, and the article talks about the importance of millet, because Prime Minister Modi said that the United Nations had declared 2023 as the International Year of Millets. So International Year of Millets, and the Prime Minister said that the government should host lunches with exclusive menu of millets meat. So whenever the Prime Minister is asked to create more events, wherever there is an event happening between the ministers, everything, you should exclusively have a menu for the millets. So it will be a big financial help for the farmers in India. And The International Year of Millets and is actually 2023. So, and even he said that around 85% of the Indian farmers falling in the category of small farmers grow millets in large number. And the consumption of these grains in the meetings and promoting this will help them financially. So, you need to know what do you mean by millets? What are millets? So, millets are basically a group of cereal grains that belongs to the Poaceae family or the Poaceae family. It belongs to the Poaceae family, and it's widely consumed in developing countries through Africa and Asia, and it may look like a seed. Millet's nutritional profile is similar to that of the sorghum and other cereals. So, millets have gained popularity because they are gluten free and boast high protein, fiber, and antioxidants content. So, again, the crop is divided into two categories: the small and large millets. So, the large millets includes like pearl, foxtail, proso, or finger, or ragi. Small millets includes like barnyard, guinea, fonio, etc. So there are different type of millets that are small and large. So please do know about millets, very high in protein, fiber, etc. So three more sites added to the world tentative list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites or UNESCO sites. So you need to know what are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and you should know that the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, Gujarat's Vadnagar town, the Sun Temple at Modhera, and the rocket sculptures of Unakoti in Tripura have been added to the tentative list of UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, whenever you should know what you mean by World Heritage Site is a landmark area with legal protection by an international convention by the United Nations, UNESCO. World Heritage Sites are determined by the UNESCO for having cultural, historical, scientific, and other form of significance. So 194 states have ratified the convention, making it one of the most widely recognized international agreements and the world's most popular cultural program. So the program began with convention concerning the protection of world's cultural natural heritage, which was happened at 1972. So this is World Heritage Site, and you need to know about the cities. The first one is the Sun Temple of Modhera, is dedicated to the sun god, is the earliest such temple, which has got an absolutely brilliant architecture and decorative style. It is actually of the Solanki style of architecture. It has got the brilliant number of temple well, step well architecture. And next is regarding the Vadnagar town in the municipality. Vadnagar is a municipality in the Mehsana district of Gujarat. The Vadnagar has recorded a very multi-layered city, and it is very popular as old as 8th century BC. So this is the Vadnagar, and the town still has number of historic buildings that are primarily religious. And then this is the famous Unakoti. The Unakoti is an ancient holy place associated with the Lord Shiva. The site is a massive gallery in a forested area displaying a number of towering low relief images, making it a masterpiece of human creative genius. So, this is Unakoti in Tripura. Take a close look at this. So, these are all added into the World Heritage, tentative World Heritage Site. So, moving on to the next is speed up COVID-19 genome sequencing, says Health Ministry. This brings us two important articles. What is INSA-CoG network, Indian SARS-CoV-2 Genomics Consortium, and what is genome sequencing? So, with a spurt in the coronavirus case reported in China, the US, and South Korea, India's health ministry has asked the states to, do increase the genome sequencing of the virus samples. So, why do you need genome sequencing? So, what do you mean by genome sequencing? So, that brings us another important area regarding INSA-CoG. The INSA-CoG is actually a network established in 2020 as a joint initiative of the Union Health Ministry and the Department of Biotechnology, which is under the Science and Technology Ministry. So, the initiative of the Health Ministry and the Department of Biotechnology are under the Science, and with the help of CSIR and ICMR. It is to expand the whole genome sequencing of SARS-CoV-2 virus. And the basic aim of INSA-CoG is to understand how the virus spreads and evolves. Because INSA-CoG actually started with 10 national research laboratories and now expanded to over 38 labs, including private and hub and spoke models. So, INSA-CoG is working to establish a systematic correlation between genome sequencing and clinical outcomes. And what do you mean by GNA sequencing, the GS paper 3, biotechnology, etc.? Genome sequencing is actually a laboratory method that is used to determine the entire genetic makeup of a specific organism or a cell. So it's determining the entire genetic makeup of a specific organism. So this method can be used to find changes in the genome. So these changes may help scientists understand how specific diseases such as cancer is actually forming. So the results of genome sequencing may be used to diagnose and treat the disease, and the genome sequencing is representing a valuable shortcut, helping scientists find genes much more easily and quickly. So that is all regarding the genome sequencing. So know about what do you mean by this in the GS paper 3, Science and Technology and Biotechnology Perspective. And the Navy takes delivery of submarine Vagir to be commissioned in January, GS paper 3 defense. So this article brings us, what do you mean by a Scorpion submarines? The fifth Scorpion class conventional submarine Vagin was delivered to the Navy by the Mazagon Dock shipbuilders in Mumbai. So the six Scorpion submarines for India are being built by the Project 75 under MDL under technology transfer from the Naval Group of France. So it's actually under the help of the France that a 3.75 billion deal was signed in 2005. So six Scorpion submarine and the fifth Scorpion class conventional was Vagir. It's called the Vagir, and you should know that the first submarine INS Calvary was launched in 2017. Next is INS Khanderi, and next is INS Karansh, and INS Vela is the fourth in 2021. And the fifth class is the Scorpion class conventional Vagir. So this brings us, what do you mean by all these concepts? And you should know that the Navy currently has around 15 conventional and one nuclear submarine in service. And it includes Russian submarines, German submarines, 4 Scorpion class submarines, and the indigenous nuclear ballistic missile submarine, the INS Arihant. So INS Arihant is the indigenous nuclear ballistic submarine. So you should know that a Scorpion is basically, what do you mean by a Scorpion? That is the first question. So a Scorpion is a conventional powered submarine weighing around 1,500 tons and can go up to depths of 300 meters. So it is built by the DCNS of France. And that is very important. Know about the submarine and especially Vagir. So next is very saddening news that Taliban regime orders nationwide ban on varsity education for Afghan girls. The Taliban has actually ordered, you're all informed to immediately implement the mentioned order of suspending education of females until further notice. A very sad day for global education and the efforts taken by many of the persons like Malala. So GS paper 2, international relations, know about the education of women in Afghanistan. Next is regarding outlook darkening globally, local factors spurs India's growth. So this is an economic article. So this brings us another important area. This is basically an idea you need to know. What is balance of risk? So the American Federal Reserve is defining balance of risk as the federal bank, like in India, it's RBI, describe its goal of setting interest rate in such a way to avoid the opposing dangers of inflation and economic weakness. So you need to set the interest rates in such a way that it is avoiding the opposing dangers of inflation and economic weakness. And what do you mean by disinflation? This article talks about the balance of risk. So setting the interest rate in such a way to avoid the dangers of inflation and economic weakness. What is disinflation? So the article again I'll come to disinflation concept, and the article talks about, so you need to know disinflation is a temporary slowing. This is not in deflation. Okay, this is not deflation and disinflation. Disinflation is a temporary slowing of the pace of price inflation and is used to describe instances when the inflation rate has reduced marginally over the short term. This is just a temporary slowing down. So unlike inflation and deflation, which refers to the direction of prices, say it has increased or it has decreased. Disinflation refers to the rate of change of rate of inflation. It is the rate of change in the rate of inflation. So an inflation and deflation is change in price, increase or decrease in the direction of price. Disinflation is a temporary slowing down, and it is the rate of change of rate in inflation. So please understand about the disinflation concept. And the article basically gives you a lot of information, like it says that uh, equity market touched a very high, and headline inflation moderated to 5.9%, and even the core inflation has remained at the steady 6%. And while inflation can be slightly down, it also talks about the OPEC, the price of energy prices. For the time being, the OPEC plus countries stayed its hand in cutting production, but an oil price cap threatens to unleash forces, because you know that everybody is talking about the oil cap price for the Russian oil. So as of now, OPEC is staying low, but the price capping of the Russian oil and can actually trigger a problem in the global energy prices. And you can see that the global commodity market, climate change, and war in Ukraine are set to keep the food prices higher than the pre-pandemic level. And then it talks about uh, the balance of risk is getting increasingly tilted towards a very darkening global outlook of 2023. So 2023 can be a very dark international global outlook. And the OECD has said that India was the only major economy that may have a growth above 5.5% in 23 and 24. So know about various aspects, and especially about the concept of disinflation. So these are some of the most important news leads of the day. So sit back, learn all these concepts, and subscribe to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun, the channel, and get more current affairs